this is Tess Rollins with Simply Enhance. I'm back with another set of Simply This or That projects. The projects are created from the products which are selected by followers on social media, and the way to vote is basically you vote on the projects. I select a couple of products each day for about 4 days, and in the end we end up with 4 products with which I will create some projects. So this week I use the Witticisms stamp set, the Story Label Punch, the Tufted Dynamic Textured Impressions Embossing Folder, that's a mouthful, and the Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper. And before I show you the projects, I'm going to take away a few of these products so that you can take a closer look at the Designer Series paper. Unlike the Designer Series paper that I usually have, this one only has 3 different sheets, and you can see it's very, very shiny and shimmery, so it's kind of fun to play with. It's a lot thicker as well. It does not have another print on the back like most of the Designer Series papers which I use to create. With it being a thicker paper, it's perfect to make boxes, gift boxes. It's a lot more sturdy to do that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and bring all of the projects in for this week so that you can get a nice little group shot of what I created. And then we'll go one by one and give you a couple of details on those projects. Okay, so let me go ahead and take a couple of these away so that we can talk about these individually. The first one, as always, is for a simple stamper or a simple crafter. That person would have maybe just a few items. This is just stamps, inks, and paper. So as you can see, I took the chinchilla sentiment out of the stamp set. I have actually, and let me see if I can give you a little bit closer look, I actually stamped it randomly on a piece of smoky slate cardstock in the same color ink, smoky slates, just to make a nice subtle background. And then on some Whisper White cardstock, I went ahead and stamped it on some Whisper White cardstock, and then I just cut it out and put it on some dimensionals. And then you'll see here that this is just some of the Designer Series paper. I've kind of just done like a color block. Okay, so that makes a simple card. It looks like it's intricate, but again, it's just stamps, inks, and paper, perfect for any beginner to try. A little bit of some technique there with the color blocking to make it look like it's something more advanced than it is. Then the second project for the casual stamper is a nice little box. It's graduation season. Unfortunately, it's 2020, so a lot of the graduations are either virtual or and all of the in-person graduations have been canceled. But it's a nice little box here that I've created, and I've used, again, the Designer Series paper to line the inside of the box. And then I stamped the sentiment "You Did It," which came from the stamp set, and created that little box. So your cap, you've got actually a top and a bottom of a box, and then the cap on top with a little bit of a tassel. So you could put a little treat in there or little notes. Actually, if you're one of those parents that are giving out a car to their graduate, a car key will actually fit in there. Of course, a lot of times now we've got those nice little push button key fobs, so we'd have to make the box a little bit bigger to fit a key fob. But a regular standard key, if you're giving them, you know, an older vehicle, will definitely fit in there. So that's a cute little box, a little treat box to put in there. So I'm going to take that and bring that over to the side. And then the last project is more for an avid crafter, someone that has a few more tools, maybe a little bit more experience. Not too much harder as it is. There may be multiple steps in creating this. It's just a nice little note card of 3v3 cards. So they're 3 inches by 3 inches. And let me go ahead and go through the cards a little bit so that I can tell you what I did. There's a nice little shot of all 3 of them. So I've used a designer series paper. Let me see if I can get a closer look. Here, right here is the story label punch, and that was used on all 3 cards. I'm going to see in the light and tilt it a little bit, and hopefully you can see that tufted embossed part of the paper, and that is also on all 3 of the cards. And then something different that I did with the designer series paper is I actually stamped these images from the Witticisms stamp set. I actually stamped those in StazOn onto the cardstock, and that is actually the color of the cardstock. So just like we had in this card here, that is the same cardstock, and I've used that to quote unquote color in the cactus so that you don't have to do any hand coloring. So the only thing you've done is stamped and then cut this out and layered it. And I did the same exact thing with that for the You Did It card, and I used the same thing, the same technique with the StazOn, and I've cut out the cap there so that and gotten that up on dimensionals. Now something I did a little bit differently, other than putting the orientation of the story label punched piece of designer series paper onto the card. What I've done here is this again is that same green designer series paper that we used on the first card, but this one I stamped with Memento ink, and because I was going to use an alcohol marker, our Stampin' Blends. And what I did was, once I stamped it in the Memento ink, I used our Stampin' Blends to color it, which is an alcohol marker. And what I've done is colored in that strawberry. And then that way, what happens is if you have your standard inks and you're not using the proper inks, when the alcohol marker touches the stamped area, it can actually remove that inked image. So Memento ink and Stampin' Blends is what I use to color in that strawberry on the designer series paper. Okay, so those are the little tips on that. I'm gonna go ahead and bring in all of the projects together so that you can get a nice snapshot of what they could look like. I'm gonna leave a couple of these cards out just to get a group photo. And I hope that this inspires you to create a nice, some nice little projects, and you can see how many projects you can create using the same products. So I'm hoping that this is all on the screen and everybody can see all of the projects all together. And I look forward to showing you more Simply This or That projects next week. And if you would like to know what products I used for all of the projects, simply go to my blog at simplyenhanced.com. Under Papercrafting, I have a subhead under my blog called Papercrafting, and you can get that information there. If you have any questions, you can also contact me at simplyenhanced.com. Goodbye till next week.